Javier, how you doing?
Hello, good. Thank you.
Your character of Silva is so brilliantly nuanced. Where did that come from? I mean, what made you embody this guy?
It comes from the story. It comes from the script. I mean, you don't know what you're going to read the first time they give the script to you. I mean, of course, you're a fan of 007 and you more or less imagine, but when I faced that reading, I tried to avoid all of that and just read what it was on the page. And when I read, it was a great character, full of different textures. And then Sam Mendes brought to the conversation many, many key points that will help me to trigger the imagination and realize how fun and creative the process was going to be.
This is probably the most stylized Bond film I've seen, beautifully shot by Roger Deakins. Can you talk about working with Deakins and Mendes and what they really made for this film?
When you work with people like Mendes and Deakins, you don't have to worry about anything. It's just, that's, I guess in my experience after 25 years, that I had the chance, the great privilege of working with great people in Spain and out of Spain. When you're working with the real serious big ones, the ones that they know what they're doing, you don't have to worry about anything. You know that you are taken perfectly care of. I mean, and with Roger Deakins, which I met in No Country for Old Men, you can do whatever you want. The camera is going to be there following you, and that's been the case. And not only that, but then it's beautifully shot and it's beautifully made. And I think Sam and him, they do a great team together. And on the set, it's very important for an actor to not feel oppressed by the techniques of it, you know. And when you're working with both of them, Roger Deakins in this case, especially because he's the guy who has to put all these things and the lights around, I never felt oppressed for 1 second. I felt free. I felt the freedom of doing whatever I want, and the camera will be there. That's amazing.
Brilliant, man. You know, I was watching The Sea Inside the other day, and I absolutely love that film. And then you just look at, you know, the striation of your career. You've done so many things. You've won an Oscar, and now you're a very memorable Bond villain. What's the next thing that you want to do to really stretch the acting muscle? Where does Javier Bardem go next?
I just finished a movie with Ridley Scott called The Counselor, based on the first script ever written by Cormac McCarthy. Very powerful material, very strongly powerful material, great character. And again, another big opportunity of working with another master. And as I was saying before, it was so easy. It was so creative and so, I don't know, it's amazing when you work with such an amazing people, how they make it really easy for you and very creative. And that's what I love. And that's the privilege of working with people like Sam or Ridley or many others that I have the chance to work with.
You know, I think for our audiences, people don't really realize how much goes into, you know, setting up and staging these films. What was the hardest day on set for you for Skyfall?
I will tell you, there's one underground chase on the underground of London, and there was one scene on the ladder that they will see. That day was particularly hard because it was long day and it was all humid and cold. And there's a moment where it's like, oh my God, enough. But days like those always are in the movies where you go like, but what is particularly hard for in any movie is to wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning and 1 hour, 30 minutes later you have to be somebody else. When that early in the morning, you don't even know who you are by yourself, you know? Like, hold a second, let me have a coffee before I imagine somebody else's.